right, hello and welcome to the Strand. I'm Seth Holmes and I'm pleased to welcome Heather Shouse here tonight to discuss her new book, Food Trucks, Dispatches and Recipes from the Best Kitchen on Wheels, with chefs from some of the New York's favorite food trucks, including Big Gay Ice Cream Truck, Treats Truck, and Beyond Dawn, and New York Dosas. In its starred review of the book, Publishers Weekly says, Food Trucks is an excellent cookbook on roving foods. Shouse, a senior food and drink correspondent for Time Out Chicago and a reporter for Food and Wine magazine, interviews 50 proprietors of various carts across 18 major U.S. cities. Along the way, she creates a fascinating landscape of cultural diversity, folks from all walks of life who have dedicated themselves to cranking out quick, cheap, nomadic snacks. Following their presentation, the panel will take your questions, and then Heather will sign her book for you, which you could purchase downstairs on your way out of the store. In addition, we have two food trucks parked outside, Beyond Dawn and Treats Truck right on 12th Street. Please join me in welcoming Heather Shouse and some of New York's finest chefs on wheels to the Strand.
So thank you guys all for coming. Is that pretty good, volume-wise? Are we okay? Is that okay? Can you guys all hear me? I'll try to speak up a little bit without disrupting the shoppers. So, did you say turn it down?
Oh yeah.
Am I blaring you out already?
No, all set.
So, thank you guys all for coming. So yeah, just to pick up where Seth left off, this book took me about a year to do. I spent a year traveling around the country, researching it, interviewing people, as you see here, finding the best truck chefs, cart chefs, trailer chefs around the country. After a trip to China, I spent a lot of time eating street food there, and I came back and I went to Portland, and that was kind of my first entry into street food here. Of course, I knew that there was a huge, vast landscape of the food truck history in America, with 7,000 taco trucks in LA and the shrimp trucks in Hawaii that have been there since the mid-century. So I really wanted to do this book to show people that Kogi did not invent the taco truck, and that this is a very historical vehicle, literally, for accessible entrepreneurship and creativity. And so I think what these people here tonight and the people featured in the book really illustrate is that you don't need $500,000 to open up a restaurant. If you have a great idea and you have a great product, anybody can do it. Literally, anyone can make it happen. So in New York City, just to kind of give you guys a little bit of perspective about each of the book is organized geographically, and each of the cities I tried to do just a little introduction to give you an idea of how that city compares to other cities throughout the country. And people ask me all the time, why does LA have so many and why does New York not? And it's because New York decided to put a cap on the permits. And you guys are welcome to ask questions. We'll probably do a little talking amongst the truck chefs, but these guys know a lot about the permit business, how it works, which is actually very fascinating, how it's so different from city to city. I've had Portland cart owners, for instance, tell me that it took them 2 months from the inception of the idea to actually be up and running, and it was easy as pie, and the city supports it and pushes it and really encourages the food truck model there. And then I've had chefs and owners tell me that it's just been nothing but a struggle in certain cities where there might be legislation over if you're on public property or if you're on private property, or permits on the park, or citywide permits versus, specific to parks, which Thiru, I know, has his cart could not be here tonight because, for instance, his cart is bound to Washington Square Park. So that's an example of, just the bureaucracy. And sometimes the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing, surprisingly, in politics, right? So, yeah, you guys have about 2,500 and permits citywide, and there's some really cool stuff in New York City, as you would imagine, being the epicenter of food in America. There's just some really delicious stuff out there. So I just want to start by introducing my co-panelists here. And I know I'm like red and splotchy because that's what I do, because I'm super German and I get nervous and I get all red, so sorry. But so this is Doug Quint, and he is the owner, creator, mastermind behind Big Gay Ice Cream Truck. And this is Thiru Kumar. He is the chef and owner and mastermind behind NY Dosas. And this is Kim Ima, and she's the chef and owner behind the Treats Truck. So just to give you a little bit on them, because they, They're a little modest. They're really great. I mean, they're kind of the cream of the crop. We also have Beyond Truck, which is parked downstairs. It used to be known as NYC Cravings, so it's listed in the book as NYC Cravings. But they recently, over the holidays, changed their name. And Beyond is Taiwanese for lunchbox. So they specialize in Taiwanese food. And they'll be selling their food downstairs as well as Kim's Treats Truck, which has lots of delicious sweets, including my favorite, the butterscotch pecan blondie, which is very, very awesome. So Doug is actually, he had a very interesting story. You know, that was one of the funnest parts of doing this project, is really just listening and getting to hear people's stories. And, you know, here's a guy who has this ice cream truck, and everyone thinks, oh, you know, it's like this big gay play on Mr. Softy, or, you know, that's it. But Doug is actually a classically trained bassoonist, and, you know, he has degrees from Manhattan School of Music and Juilliard, and he's just a really interesting person who decided to take an idea between a conversation with his partner, business partner, and also life partner, and they decided to go ahead and just follow their dream and do this. And no?
Dream.
Is it a dream?
Yeah, it was maybe an absurdist fantasy. I don't know. I just wanted to do a weird summer job, and I had been really jealous of a friend of mine who had been driving an ice cream truck, and she didn't own the ice cream truck. It belonged to a depot that had about 16 or 20 of them. And one winter, she told the guys who owned the trucks, if you want, I could maybe help you find some drivers. So she had this idea that she would find all these really sexy girls, and they would all wear bikinis and be ice cream truck ladies. So try to find a good word. And so she put a message on her Facebook status that said, if you want to drive an ice cream truck, get in touch with me, thinking she was going to have all hot girls get back to her. And I wrote back, and she said, well, I have to rethink this concept, but I don't see why you can't do it. No, that was it. We had an ice cream truck. And then the idea of just being a Mr. Softy driver was too boring. So we decided to really mutilate the menu and have some fun with it. That's where our truck came from. Yeah.
And one of the interesting questions that I get a lot when people see this portion of the book that you might want to comment on is how the reception has been in terms of, I mean, there's there's obviously, this is a very accepting, very liberal city, but people are always curious. You know, people ask me when I travel to other places, or if I'm maybe a little below the Mason-Dixon, how the reception is. So do you want to comment if there's ever, you know, if you feel like it's just been generally positive since the get-go?
People just laugh. And whether they're laughing with us or at us, I really don't care, as long as they're laughing.
Yeah.
And a couple of times there have been kids who've tried to pick a fight with me or embarrass me, but I've got a sign on it that says "Big Gay Ice Cream Truck." It's kind of hard to call me out, you know. When they say, "Yo, you gay?" and I'll say, "Yeah, I am. Are you?" And it's like, they're pretty terrified. So it plays itself out pretty quickly. And no, the response is great.
Great.
Nope, all good.
Awesome.
Yep.
So, and Thiru Kumar is actually from Jaffna, Sri Lanka, and he came here when he was 27 years old. So he specializes in what would be considered a South Indian sort of specialty, the dosa, and all of his food is vegan. He's very mindful of that and very much caters to the vegan and vegetarian population and the students' dorms and the surrounding housing around Washington Square Park. And those, would you say, would be core audience of yours? Because it seems like
right by NYU, yeah.
When I visited you had a lot of students, right?
Yeah.
And so how's business been for you?
Yeah, it's pretty good. First of all, I introduce myself. I'm Kandaswamy Thirukumar, born Hindu and vegetarian. I became vegan 10 years ago. I wanted to introduce the vegan food to New York City to be healthy and stuff. You know, a lot of vendors sell hot dog and stuff, you know. So I want to change. That's why I decided to do something different, like nobody is doing it. So that's why I created a South Indian dosa card, which is very healthy. Dosas are made of rice and lentil. It's a big crepe, similar to French crepe, but still filled with the potato, fresh veggies, and served with the little lentil soup and coconut chutney on the side. Most of them been to my card. I think he's Yeah.
It's delicious. And Thiru, actually, the NY Dosas cart was named New York Magazine's best cart in 2003. They also won a Vindy Award, which is a really popular award that's given out to the best vendors in the city. So they've had a wonderful reception. They actually, make T-shirts, and he has a Facebook page, and he's
Twitter, everything.
yeah. So now he's on Twitter, and he's
We have keep the price same since we opened, so everything is still under $6, so everyone can afford, and we give credit. People know have money, so they can come back and pay back.
And I've actually
always
seen him
come
do
back.
that.
Yeah.
They always come back.
I have many people study here. They go to Europe, come back and pay me too.
Yeah, I've actually seen that in action. That's not just hyperbole. I was actually interviewing Thiru, and one of his regulars, a student, came up and he made him a plate and put enough food for the next 2 days in there and said, "Don't worry about it, man. Like, you can pay me whenever you have money." So I think that's also really endeared him to his regulars and just his giving nature and spirit. So yeah, he's been a very popular vendor. So Kim, Ima is actually a awesome pastry chef, and she has a bakery that she works out of is it still in Red Hook?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. So do you want to talk a little bit about how you decided to go this path?
I love trucks, and I love food, and I love street food, and I was obsessed with baking. I wasn't a professional baker, and in the middle of a conversation with a friend, I could just see it coming around the corner. And in the middle, the treats truck. Oh, wouldn't that be great? And anytime I started talking about it to people, they'd have ideas for me, like, oh, you could do this, you could do that, you could do this.
Yeah.
I thought it just seems like such a fun idea. So I had no idea how to do it, and I just figured it out. Like, I looked on eBay, and I bought a used truck and named him Sugar, and found a place, walked around and talked to a lot of other vendors, and I was taken under the wing of all these Greek ice cream guys who became my uncles, kind of. Like, people were so nice to me, like other vendors were so great about helping me out because I didn't know what I was doing. And so that's what I do. I have 8 different regular spots around Manhattan. I do 2 a day. Some spots twice a week, some once a week, and people just know, it's a Wednesday. The treats truck is in my neighborhood that day. And the customers are the best part. Really.
So that might be an interesting thing. I think a lot of people ask questions about how do you guys decide where you're going to go and where you're going to set up? I know you're bound to your spot because of
Only
your
one
permit,
spot,
right?
one spot, yeah.
And then you guys have citywide permits, so you can basically go anywhere you'd like. Is that?
Well, I call it my personal Sudoku because, Sudoku, that game where you get 9, 9, and 9? The city gives you, you have the health department list of rules of which streets business is allowed. It's just kind of a random, there's no real logic to it in my mind. So you have that list. And then you have the actual parking rules of, you can park, you can't park. These are the hours commercial traffic can park there. And then the third list of rules is just the reality of the street, like how friendly are they. You just can't tell until you try.
Right.
So you match up these 3 lists and then you try. And then you just over time establish spots, but it's not logical. So like I know a truck that's in front of, like directly in front of a no standing sign, no parking sign, but the neighborhood loves it and everyone loves it, so it's fine, and I think that's great. But then other places a sign like that would mean you get in trouble.
Right.
So I think we just figure it out. But he has a parks permit, so so he has to stay there.
Yeah.
But also that means he also is allowed to be there. So it's a give and take. There's some good things about
and also
that.
I'm listed in 42 countries in tour guidebook, so people really come and look for me.
They know where to find him all the time.
Yeah, that's good.
So
Which,
I cannot, even I wish I cannot change now. It's
Yeah.
like kind of steady, yeah.
It's a good spot.
I create a good place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, well, with ice cream trucks, there are so many that the depots who own the trucks sort of know where a truck is going to be here, there, and they've all figured out a map. So you can't go anywhere because there might be another ice cream guy a corner away who's been working that spot for 15 years. So there's a lot of, no one has been on that spot. We used to use it. Go try it. See how that works. See how the neighborhood is, and you stick with it.
Right.
Because you don't change neighborhoods a lot because you'd have to know the schedules and the whims of a dozen other ice cream men to do that. So
Right. So people
I
talk
stick
a
with
lot
it.
about, people are talking a lot now about Twitter and how important it is to this business model, but if you listen to what these guys are saying, they do have a regular schedule. So I think that it was important. It helps to get out the word. It helps to let people know, hey, we are going to be here. Hey, even though it's raining, we're in our